I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education, Monday, April 24th, 2023 at 6 o'clock. Would you please join us for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me a second. At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence. Over spring break, Jefferson County Schools lost one of our foremost teachers, Sarah Lewick, who was a librarian at Jefferson High. Sarah went to almost everything that Jefferson High had, and you could see her at proms and baseball and basketball and everything that was at that school. She had an infectious, positive personality that was recognized by students, staff, and our community. At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence in honor of her. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Does not seem like that long ago that we welcomed some students here to honor Ms. Lewick by naming the Media Center at Jefferson High School in her honor. And I hope that one of the things we instill in students here at Jefferson County Schools is that when they set their minds to something, when they recognize a need, they have the ability to make an incredible difference. And we are going to celebrate that tonight with one of our students who did that very thing. I'd like to call up to the podium to talk about what happened over the weekend and how that came to be Haley Kern. She is the Jefferson County Schools PERC, or Parent Educator Resource Coordinator. And she's going to tell you about a student who's making a difference not only for herself and her own life, but in the lives of students across the district.
Dr. Gibson, Learn, and members of the board, it's been my privilege to have served the families and the students of Jefferson County this year, and I look forward to doing that moving forward as well. And this year, we've been very fortunate to have hosted many opportunities for our students, and for each of those opportunities, be it the trunk or treat, the sensory Santa, the Tri-County prom, or most recently, the very special event that we had on Saturday, which was a field day for students with special needs. Our neurodivergent and neurotypical students have all participated. We've been very, very fortunate to have student volunteers from each of our high schools, and also some students from the middle schools as well participate. But what made this weekend's event so incredibly special is that it is completely student-driven. Ms. Sophie Stewart came to us with an idea, and with the energy and enthusiasm that only a teenager can have, and the determination to develop a plan and make it happen. So on that note, it was my pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Sophie Stewart, who will tell you more about her program that she put together that I only minimally assisted. Sophie?
Good evening. So I went to Miss Kern at the very beginning of this year, and I volunteered last year at many middle schools and elementary schools, and realized that special needs students at these schools maybe weren't invited to participate in these events, or if they were there was many games they were left out of, and it didn't feel very included. So I became NHS president, and over the summer, I wanted to go out with a bang my senior year, so I decided I would do this special needs field day. So I went to Miss Kern with this huge idea, and she was very nice, saying some things, oh, that's not gonna work, oh, that's a great idea, let's embark on that one. So over the past few months, it took a lot of work, but it was definitely all worth it, seeing all the students' faces. We had games available for all types of students, and I had many NHS volunteers that were there too, so it was really nice to have mentors and one-on-one. And every student's face that was there was just so happy, and everything was so worth it, and they really had a good time, and we got so much positive feedback. And it was a great event that I hope is a tradition in the county, and I'm really hoping a student can pick it up and do it again next year and for all the years in the future. Thank you.
Kids are up on stage with the board. We'll get a photo op.
Thank you.
Here's your opportunity to take photos. For anyone who wants to come on forward, don't be shy. Around the back of the table there. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Another round of applause. So I heard amazing things about that event, and when I learned that it was student-driven, I thought we had to invite Sophie here and talk to her about the drive and the work that went into that. So hats off to her. We move now to the arts. Students from Jefferson and Washington high schools represented Jefferson County Schools during the West Virginia chapter of the International Thespian Society State Theater Festival this year, and they accomplished great things. Jefferson High School, I learned, is in the middle of Tech Week, so they started at 3 o'clock this afternoon and will continue until 8. They send their regrets, but encourage everyone to attend Murder Mystery, Murder on Center Stage, coming up this weekend, details at their website. So I was told to give that plug to encourage the students in their hard work. But from Jefferson High School, Megan Garland is the theater director there. Lindsay Bangett won a scholarship for WVU. Ethan Powderly took second place for stage management at the competition, and Emily Jack took first place for character makeup. Ethan Powderly, as I said, is one of the behind-the-scenes folks, so it's really all-inclusive for everybody involved in theater, whatever part of that they do. Lillian Stump is one of the other students who went to attend. Malachi Rock Allen, Faye Sarek, Kylie Starkill, Addison Cosper, Catherine Pillay, Eliza Quinn, Bree Art, Cody Reed, Isabella Woodward, Felix Alexander, Wyatt Robert, Ava Palmer, Ethan Powderly, Lucy Meeker, Lydia Krensman, Adrian Perks, Elizabeth Scott, Lillian Reiner, and Ethan French rounded that out. For Washington High School, they also had great success, and here to talk about the students is Daryl Cummings, the theater director for Washington High School, and I will make myself useful and hand out certificates while you sing their praises, sir.
Thank you. Hi, friends. We had a lot of success, and I was really pleased with this group of students right here, the work that they put in to their craft, whether it be with technical theater or whether it be performance, is actually quite outstanding. We had a couple of breakthroughs this year that we haven't had happen before, so I was very, very pleased about that. One of the things that we did very well in was our tech rodeo team, which is basically going through all of the different aspects of tech theater events like hanging a light, hanging gelling and focusing a light, rope tying, so you have different kinds of ropes that release and work on stage, along with cutting and joining boards. There's a whole slew of events that go with it, and they all get the time added together. I believe we had a perfect time on the lights. We had a perfect time on the lights without any penalties. That's because we're probably one of the few schools left that actually uses the lights that you have to change the gels with and change the bulbs out of. So we're pretty good on that. Yeah, I said that. Anyway, they did a great job with it. Our captain, Jay Pettis, Essence, Kirkendall. Isa. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you come up and get some certificates. Isa Fisher. Lillian. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And we have two other members that aren't here today. Mr. Xander Shilley and Hayden Butler, that's right. Hayden Butler. So they're not here today, both seniors. And they did a fantastic job. Also with the props did really well too. I only wanted to get things right for them. This
is only the first act. You'll be able to get more pictures at intermission. Stay. We're going to get everybody.
Okay. Also, we got some interesting things going on. Another tech feat pulled off. My friend here, Jericho Gibson, ended up getting, now this is crazy, second place with a perfect score. I don't know how that exactly works out, and I have questions about it, but perfect score, second place. Okay, good. But he made an awesome staff from a musical, was it from the Harry Potter the musical, or was it Lord of the Rings? I'm sorry, Lord of the Rings musical. And thing lights up, and he melted it and bent it, and looked like wood and fooled people. So it was really neat. So those are some of the tech awards we got there. Also, I got a couple of performance awards here. First one to bring up is going to be Ella Duffy. Ella and Destiny Soka got outstanding scene, outstanding duo scene. And Ella also got outstanding monologue. Right now, as far as I know, Ella is currently won more trophies in ITS competition individually than anybody we've had before. Destiny, yes. Destiny has pulled something off that we haven't had. She got outstanding solo vocals at that particular competition. And Friday, she will be down in Charleston singing at Arts Alive as well, because they wanted her down there too. So I'm very proud of what they've accomplished, and usually I have a lot to say, but I guess in moments like this I run out of some words, so y'all are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. No breaking legs on the stairs, please, and thank you. Okay. Now we go to our middle schoolers. We had a really exciting opportunity for our Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America from Wildwood Middle School and Shepherdstown Middle School. Andrea Faith is here to talk about some of those students, and Heather Faubel to introduce them and explain what exactly happened at the state competition this year. No? Sorry about that. I'll let you jump in. My bad. I wasn't sure who was coming.
It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I was honored to escort the Wildwood Middle School participants to the state competition at Cedar Lakes this year. And these young ladies and gentlemen came back as first place winners in their competition. So Kayla Duvall and Abby Cole won first place in Focus on Children and earned silver medals. And Derek Carper won first place in career investigation and also the only gold medal awarded in the middle and high school categories while we were there. So in addition to that, Derek was also elected as our West Virginia FCCLA first vice president for the school year to represent the middle and the high school throughout the state. And all three of these young ladies and gentlemen will be going to Denver, Colorado in July to compete at the national level.
My name is Derek Carper, and I had a lot of fun when I went up there. We had a lot of activities that we did. Yeah. You want to say anything?
So our project was about focusing on children, me and Kayla's, and we went to Paige Jackson Elementary School, and we taught them how to address your stress and to manage your stress.
I just wanted to add that our FACS teacher resigned in January, so these students did most of this without the direction of our FACS teacher. So committed students, and they've represented us well.
Come on forward, get in the center. Very well done. And were any of the students from Shepherdstown able to be here this evening? Shepherdstown Middle School also sent students who placed either first or second and earned silver medals. Amanda Beza, Neela Dubé, Holly Helwig, Eden Kruger, Lily Nicodemus, and Avery Ruland all were able to travel and participate. So that is our presentation of students this evening. Thank you all for recognizing them and reminding us why we get up and come into work every day. So thank you.
Is his mic on? It's not. I'm good. Good evening. I am pleased to announce that we've now given Shockey a notice to proceed for Ranson Elementary School. Yay, yeah. As the school with our largest number of students in poverty for Title I, the school has additional programs to support its students. With the largest English as a second language learner population, and with the expansion of programming for autism, spaces in the new school have been allotted in order to best serve this student population. Ranson also enjoys a central location in the county. Therefore, it will also offer robust STEAM labs, one for the students in the school and one for elementary students from all of our other schools to come and enjoy. Prior to issuing notice to proceed, we worked our way down a list of board-approved funding options. As part of that process, we met several times with the school building authority. The SBA concluded that they will not be providing additional funding for Ranson Elementary School. As we move forward with our sights now set on the beginning of Shepherdstown Elementary School, it is important to note that it has different programming needs in Shepherdstown. As part of productive discussions with the school building authority, We will be proactively working with them to secure additional funding for Shepherdstown Elementary. Both Ranson and Shepherdstown Elementary will be state-of-the-art, modern learning spaces with the ability to serve many future generations. They will be schools to be very proud of. Harpers Ferry Middle School received camera upgrades over the spring break. This fulfilled one of their LSIC requests, and moving forward with our replacement schedule for school camera improvements. So that's one we can check off of the list. Mr. Dylan Bites is working this spring on establishing the Charlestown Middle School micro orchard. He's made some progress by installing some fencing this week after the fencing, I should say, the trees will be planted. So we're excited about that project. Devin Pearl, meanwhile in attendance, is very busy with her Nurtured Hearts Approach class. She held one this past Saturday at North Jefferson Elementary School, and that's part of our Family Strengthening series. A parent provided feedback about the presentation and the program, stating that it was great and rated the delivery of the materials as a 10. In addition, the parent stated that the examples were beneficial and the presentation provided tools on how to approach and talk to children. There will be one more Nurtured Heart Approach class for the 2022-23 academic year on May 13th from 8:30 until noon at North Jefferson Elementary. The presentation date has been shared with all school principals, counselors, and sent out to parents through the communication departments. Families who register and attend receive Nurtured Heart Approach handouts and a workbook. Parents who wish to sign up should call Ms. Pearl at 304-728-9221 to get on the list. They can also visit jcswv.org to learn more about this opportunity. My final update involves a partner, and it is a bond project. This is a project I love talking about and a project we've discussed before. It involves the elementary STEAM labs, and this project has become so involved and so creative and so well used by the teachers. I'm going to invite Miss Mary Lind to discuss this project with you a little more in depth. Ms. Lind?
Thank you so much, Ms. White. I am so excited to be here this evening to talk to you about this project. It truly has been a project of passion for me, and I'm really excited to be here, and I hope I can convey how successful we've been in the last year, as well as the progress we've made, and highlight the work of the 6 teachers that were hired to work on this project, as well as give you some updates and next steps. So if Jason could please start the PowerPoint. So while we're waiting for Jason, we received funds for this project in 2021, and, oh, here we go, thank you. So when we first received the funds, we thought about what do teachers need in the classroom, and then what do students need? And the biggest thing that teachers need in the classroom is time, and the things that students need is engagement and hands-on activities. So together we decided that we were going to make bins that would be mobile bins that would travel to the elementary school. So I'm going to talk about that first. Next slide, please, Jason. So this is our STEAM team that we hired last fall. These were 6 educators that got together last summer for the first time. Tracy Davis, who is right behind me, she's our pre-K academic coach as well as our STEAM facilitator. That's Candy Kaiser, 1st grade from Blue Ridge, Jean Netterostic, 4th grade Blue Ridge, Allie Moody, librarian at South Jefferson, Leslie Boyd, librarian at Shepherdstown, and Jen Vogel, a 2nd grade at South Jefferson. So they gathered last summer, and their first job was to create original lessons that were anchored on a relevant piece of literature. Then they created the bins that included all the materials that teachers would need to successfully implement a STEAM lesson in their classroom. There's currently over 20 bins that are in circulation in Jefferson County right now. So Jason, could you please go to the Canvas page, please? So Allie Moody, who's the librarian at South Jefferson, created this Canvas page for us, and it's pretty phenomenal. Every teacher in Jefferson County has access to this page, And as you scroll down, they can read about the project, they can meet the teachers, there's a question and answer section as you see, and then the teachers can go to their grade level, keep scrolling down please, where they can find a lesson, they can read about the lesson, and they can see everything that that lesson entails. And then they can click a button which will alert Tracy that they want to borrow that bin. And Tracy does all of her deliveries on Friday to the teachers so that they're ready to go the next week. And these are becoming really super popular. And as well as bins that teachers can borrow, we also have lots of different STEAM materials that teachers can borrow as well. We have lots of Lego kits, as you can see, that teachers can borrow, and there are class sets. So it's not just like one set for every kid gets a chance to play with the Legos. And there's magnet tiles, there's lots of other science materials. And one of the most popular products that we have, and we have lots more that we have to add, by the way, one of the most popular items is the Ozobots that you see moving right there. Teachers are getting really creative with using the Ozobots in their classrooms. Okay, now you can go back to the PowerPoint. Jason, thank you. So I'm going to show you a picture, and this is actually a classroom that's using a first grade STEAM lesson. And I just wanted to give you an idea of what a teacher would receive. They would receive all the materials that you see here to do 6 groups for 4 kids each. And this is a really fun, engaging lesson. This is for first grade, and it's based on a science standard for light, where they have to make a path for Little Red Riding Hood to get to the forest. So they first make a path together collaboratively, then they have to use a flashlight and a variety of materials to reflect the light through the path. And it's a really fun project that's been popular. So next slide, please. Oh, right. Then I wanted to add this quote. This is a quote from Paige Palmer from C.W. Shipley that pretty much summarizes how teachers are feeling about having all the materials completely ready for them. All right, next slide, Jason. So something that's happened organically this year that we were just really surprised that happened, but pleasantly surprised, was that the STEAM teachers were invited to help facilitate family nights at 2 of our Title I schools. So they brought all the bins and materials and facilitated STEAM lessons with families at both Ranson and North Jefferson. And here's a really, really cool lesson that this mom is doing with some kids where they're using tuning forks, paint, and ping pong balls to emulate the work of Kandinsky. And that's a pretty popular Caldecott book that is based on. So because of that, we are going to implement more STEAM nights and have that available to our schools. All right, next slide, Jason. Here's another picture of a family that's working on building a maze with a handheld fan and a ping pong ball where they tried to use wind to blow the ball through. And it's based on the book, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So as you can see, we are covering lots of content, lots of topics with our bins. All right, next slide, please. So at the end of all of our lessons, we encourage our teachers to fill out a survey of how they feel about the bins so we can get feedback to do better for next year. So Jason, if you could just click through the comments, please. I'm not going to read them to you. But the first 2 comments are from students that were really excited about coding. And the teacher, Lisa Long from North Jefferson, who teaches 4th and 5th grade, used the coding robots to help kids understand the story of Don Quixote, which is one of our CKLA Amplify stories. So I was super excited about that. And the last 2 quotes are from Jean Harmon in 4th grade and the 3rd grade Shepherdstown team that just talks about how it's been just a hands-on way to get their kids excited about learning. All right, next slide, please, Jason. So this is just a couple stats about things that have gone on the last year. We've made 21 bins for K-5. We also have made bins for pre-K. These are much smaller, that's why the number's bigger. Over 255 Lego kits are in the county, 8 Ozobot kits. There are STEAM materials on loan for family STEAM nights, and we are ordering more for next year, and that will be on the Canvas page for schools to borrow. Each school has coding kits from Sam's Labs, and Tracy has loaned out over 230 materials So that means that she's delivered 230 times this year to schools. So according to our estimations, that's over 3,300 individual student experiences with STEAM. So, next slide. Next steps. So next, we've already hired our team for next year, as well as hired a new STEAM teacher, which is Debbie Krause from Shepherdstown Elementary. The mobile parent night materials are going to be available. We are sending some of the teachers to the state science and reading conferences to celebrate their STEAM bins with everybody else, and we are having PD this summer. So that's it for my presentation, and I encourage you to ask me some questions. Yes, Dr. Joy.
Yeah, I was curious if you have bins that are for the outdoors.
Ooh.
I recognize that the wind could be either way, but, you know, just kind of more to do with the environment.
That's a
dirt.
great idea. That's right up your alley.
Well, some of our pre-K bins
Some of our pre-K bins are
designed to be used. So we have trees and insects.
come on up, Tracy.
We have trees, insects, recycling, and some things that work for the environment that we're trying to encourage teachers to go outside and utilize. But I like that idea for, as we're developing our new lessons for next year, to encourage it to be more outdoors.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I would like to thank you. It's nicely done, and I think when you take those bins to them, having everything in it is very important because they don't have time to gather all that stuff up, and nicely done.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Excuse me.
Oh, sure, yes.
So I really like this. This is a great idea. So, so now you have 7 teachers hired to work on the STEM project from pre-K to 5.
That's right.
So, and how many schools was that they're
All
working
10, you mean how many schools are represented by the teachers?
at? Right.
Shepherdstown, South Jefferson, Blue Ridge, your Page Jackson, so 4? 4 schools.
Okay, so here's where I was going with this.
Okay, yes.
So, do you eventually plan on hiring more teachers for all of our elementary schools so that everyone is able to take part in this?
Well, when
Because we have Ransom,
Right.
Title I, right?
Right, so
Driftwood.
the teachers that are hired for the STEAM team, we hired them initially to write the lessons. That was their, like to write curriculum. And this, like I said about the parent night, that just kind of happened organically where they get to be kind of ambassadors out in the schools. But I really wish that we could have a teacher represented from each school. However, we didn't have many candidates apply for that position.
Oh, okay.
So maybe next year with it growing and expanding and being in the schools, because that's another great part about the parent night, is the teachers who are kind of unaware of the STEAM project, they see the bins and they're like, I want to use that in my classroom. And so it's, giving them some exposure to how awesome the project is too. So maybe more people will apply is what I was getting at.
So the schools that don't have the teachers that you are hiring, are they still receiving
Oh, yeah,
everything
definitely.
so that they can still partake in this?
Oh, yes, yes.
Good.
Any teacher
Okay.
in the county that clicks the sign up genius, Tracy's on it. And she's like a mad delivery woman on Fridays. I can't even talk to her because she's like, I'm
That's
delivering.
good to hear. Good to
Yeah,
hear.
it's
So
really
that's
neat.
some good stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
And I want to thank these ladies. It's just evidence to the bond money and the great work it does in our schools. So that concludes my update, unless you have any questions of me.
I just had a quick question for you, Joyce.
Yes.
So the Ranson, we know that we will not receive any more SBA funding. I noticed you said Shepherdstown, they were encouraged to give more funding for, but that how will we have to make that look different? And will we get, before there's any changes made to the original plan, will we get that update first, or how is that going to work?
If the board would like an update about how we're going to bid that project, that is certainly possible. And as early as an hour ago, I was speaking with Randy, the architect on the project, who's speaking with the SBA to determine what that will look like as we put it out for a bid. So that is still, I keep saying it gets closer, trust me, it does, but as with anything, we want to take our time in the process and get it done and done right and done well. So they're wrapping up the site work for the fire pump and all that stuff that needs done with the water redesign. By the end of the week, we're hoping the SBA will have that in their hands to make a decision. Once they make a decision, then we'll do the bidding package, and we can certainly provide you with another update about where we're at that time.
I have
Yes.
some questions. So if the SBA is not funding the Ranson project at all, what's the next step for funding?
We presented you funding sources, which you voted on at the February 27th meeting. I believe that was on or about February 27th. So we went down the list of funding sources, and so we have assigned local funding sources to fill that gap, and those are the funding sources that we'll be using.
Okay, will we get an update on that?
Yes, ma'am, I can remind you of what those funding sources were.
Okay, and then at the last board meeting, or the last time you presented, and I had asked you about an update on the Shepherdstown building, you said that you expected to hear within the week. I'm assuming this implies that you had met and they asked for changes, and that's why you're waiting on them again?
The SBA has not asked for changes. They're waiting on the water design. In this process, and that's a good question, Dr. Joy, often I can give you an estimate of time. What I can't always control are the outside agencies that need to permit me or take a look at things. And while a lot of work happens behind the scenes and we work through it rapidly and stay on it, at the end of the day, it's a push and a pull. And believe me, I push, and sometimes I pull, but you can only go so far with agencies before they'll just stall and say, we're getting it in our own time with the manpower we have. And they do the best they can. We have great resources and vendors here, but we get in that great waiting list with everyone else. So unfortunately, we waited a bit to have some of the on-site things happen just by permitting agencies. And again, I'm giving you my best estimate of time and what I know as of right now, this minute. And in operations, one thing I do know is that if I say it this minute, tomorrow it can change, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But we work through all of that. So that's my best estimate of time right now. You're welcome.
Ms. White?
Yes.
So you're saying that we will have local funding for the $11 million that we're short for Ranson. So I would like to, I know you said that we voted on it and you gave it to us, but
You want? I would be happy to
for
provide it
now,
again.
please,
And I
thank
do
you.
want to just note that it is not $11 million because we took $1 million off of exterior things in that project. The contractor is finding me $1 million worth of things that can be cost savings in the building. In other words, we bid it a specific brand so they can swap out a brand without compromising the integrity. So I'm going to review that list, and that will be another $1 million. So it's over $9 million that we'll be finding the additional funding for.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and Shepherdstown, it's what, 700 and some odd thousand that we're short on Shepherdstown. So do you think if the SBA doesn't give us that the local funding will also cover that?
Right now, because we haven't bid Shepherdstown, we don't know what the overages will be for Shepherdstown. So I can only estimate, not speculate, and I really don't want to be speculative on it right now. But yes, we will have to have options like we had the last time, I suspect. But the options, of course, we need SBA help. So like I said, with our proactive discussions, I want to feel really positive that moving forward, we'll get some additional help for funding for that.
Okay, and at this point in time, do we have any idea when either school may be started or completed?
Right now, we have trailers sitting on the property in Ranson. If you've been by there are construction trailers. We're getting power to the property. I would say in the next week or so, we'll start to actually move dirt. We've had a couple of very productive construction meetings, and I do want to tell you that we hit contractor lottery because they are absolutely wonderful. They're very responsive, they're organized, and they have an entire team of people looking out for every need we could possibly want. So I'm very impressed so far with our construction meetings and what they've done.
Okay, because I did see the trailers.
Yes.
Because I ride by there almost every day, but that's all it is the trailers are sitting
Right.
there. There's never anything going on there, it's just
Right.
trailers sitting there. So once again, do we have any idea as to when we may start and finish either project?
So when we start that project, I'm estimating like a couple of more weeks. They're saying 509 days. So between 16 and 18 months, Ranson would be finished, yes. You're welcome.
I have one more question.
Yes.
I'm curious if there is like an insurance liability when people are on the property, like the Shepherdstown property. I've noticed a couple of motorcycles, people metal detecting. Should there be signs like no trespassing or something to deter just in case of any kind of accident? I don't know, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I can certainly look into that. We do carry insurance on that property as we do all of our properties, and the contractor will carry insurance during the build as well. So yes, thank
Okay?
you.
Yeah, I just think there should be,
No
I think if you
trespassing.
have a sign that says no trespassing and they trespass anyway, then maybe they won't, you know,
We would
maybe
hope.
maybe you're not liable, but I don't know the rules.
I have one more question for
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
So you said that Harper's Ferry, they received their cameras?
They did, yes.
Okay, that's great. That's great. But what about the other schools? When are they going to receive their cameras?
Well, they're on a replacement schedule. I know that, or I suspect from what I've seen in your proposed budget, next year there'll be a funding source to the extent we can make one for cameras. And I do know that today, Jen Moss, the treasurer, was collaborating with Brandon Caton and with Jennifer Rowan on seeking a grant for cameras as well. So hopefully, and she may have a little funding to set aside. So we're really trying to blend some funding resources so that annually we can fund some cameras. Now, TA Lowry and Wright Denny recently got new cameras, so this isn't our first foray into replacing aging equipment or providing equipment, but
Okay, because I know, like, the urgency, and I've brought this up before for, as you all know, Charles Hill Middle School, and then also Jefferson.
Right.
So hopefully theirs will be before next year, because with everything going on in America right now, you know, I don't think we should wait, so.
I hear you, and it is contingent upon funding. I do know that July 1st starts our new funding cycle, so we've exhausted funding for this year. So while I would like to speed that up as well, I can't tell you that we can based on our funding sources, but we're always out there looking for opportunity and for funding sources for safety equipment. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next order of business is approval of the minutes from March 27th and a special board meeting held April 3rd and April 18th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Bratton. Is there a discussion?
Yeah, I have a question about the March 27th minutes. It doesn't specify how long those 300 and plus pages are going out for review. It just says they would go out for review, so there's no record of how long the public has. So how long is it out for review then?
Well, it's a decision of the board to keep it out for review as long as you would like. However, at that meeting, to your point, we discussed leaving it out until the June 26th meeting, so folks would have 3 full months, 12 full weeks to review those, and you would have an opportunity to adopt them before the end of the school year. We will be pulling those, as we stated, at the end of each month. So I guess next week is the 30th. We'll be pulling all of the comments to date so that you guys get them once a month, so you have plenty of time to digest them and make any suggestions for revision. But at the time, ma'am, it was June, either 24th or 26th, whatever that meeting is.
I just think it should be documented somewhere.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, absolutely.
Is there any other discussion about the minutes? All in favor say aye.
So are we going to change the minutes?
Are you going to change?
Going to
these?
change the minutes.
Are we going to get a ending date, a possible ending date added into these minutes?
I'll go back and check.
I couldn't hear
Okay,
you.
Janet,
So can I just amend my motion on the table to accept the minutes, adding the amendment that it's the June 24th or 26th, whatever, the 26th, okay, that they will be out for public review until June 26th and pulled off once a month, comments pulled off once a month given to the board. Is that okay, Janet? Okay.
is there a second to that?
I'll change my second to it.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carries. Citizens' comments. Mrs. Ogden will be my timer. First up, we have 2 from Zoom. We have Bobby Block first.
Working on getting her over here.
Okay. Mrs. Block, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Wonderful.
You may go ahead and start whenever.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm grateful for the opportunity to continue to raise questions regarding the responsibility of the Board of Education to hold Rockwell's behavior accountable regarding toxic emissions as well as omissions. Since Environmental Resource Management, ERM, services are retained by Rockwell, one could possibly conclude that a definite conflict of interest exists. To put it quite bluntly, it is trusting the fox to protect the henhouse and children, the henhouse representing our local students, and the chickens representing the innocent children subjected to the toxins. The Health and Human Risk Assessment that was completed approximately 3 years ago is not limited to air quality. It also addresses water and the environment, neither of which ERM includes in its quarterly report. In reality, the toxins in the air will eventually fall to pollute the water and the soil. It is outrageous that ERM states that Rockwell has met all local, state, and federal permitting requirements, which is a complete fabrication. posted on the BoE website. The West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, WVDEP, has found Rockwell to be negligent on 9 points. Simply put, Rockwell failed to build what it was permitted to build. As a result, not bringing Rockwell to task, the Jefferson County Board of Education has jeopardized the health and safety of our children and community. Thus, the BOE can be viewed as culpable. As an educational advocate for decades, as well as personally experiencing and witnessing the negligent impact of these toxins, rests heavy on my heart. Therefore, in Quaker speak, I am drawn to speak truth to power in terms of the moral, spiritual, and intellectual perspectives. The foundation of most faiths believe in the golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Hoping the BOE has the courage to help ensure that Rockwell meets all environmental requirements, provides safe and healthy air, water, land, and natural resources of our earth that we all deserve. The necessary appropriate environmental context will be included in the written testimony. Thank you so much. And please, please,
Thank you, Mrs. Block. Now we have Brett and Dana Knott.
Hello?
Mr. and Mrs. Knott, can you hear us?
Yes, this is Mr. Knott. Mrs. Knott is not currently present.
Okay, you have 3 minutes. If you may start at any time you'd like.
All right, the topic of this evening's discussion is an inappropriate, what we feel is an inappropriate book that was presented to our child's first grade classroom. The title of the book is Sowing the Rainbow, and this was not brought to any parent's attention prior to it happening. And I had to be blindsided coming home in the evening from my son about pretty much who the birds and the bees are. So it was, and I wasn't quite ready for that conversation. And I don't think the first graders are ready for it either. One thing I want to bring up is that we've been told that it's on the CKLA list, but we can't find it anywhere on that list. So once that was brought to someone's attention, we're then told that it's on a teacher's list, which we have no access to. So that pretty much brings up the whole situation of the teachers have the authority over what the parents can do. Also, that being said, we find out that it was introduced to the classroom through a student or a student's parents to try to be read to the students, and it was read aloud in the classroom. It is a complete disgusting betrayal of traditional family, military, and other values that I don't agree with whatsoever, and I'm sure the majority does not as well. I would like to know, is it possible that parents can bring in books such as this if they are approved? And if they can, then can I myself bring in a book that is my depiction of the rainbow, which would be Noah's Ark or something of the sorts, if it's an approved book? I also would like to bring to the board's attention that the recent bill passed in the House is the Parent Bill of Rights, which is, pretty much touching on this entire subject. And I just would like to know how I should proceed with this. And I would most certainly like to make the other 23 parents that are probably not aware of this happening in the classroom aware and what approach I should take in doing that. That's pretty much all I have for now.
Thank you very much. Our next order of business is the consent agenda. Amy?
Thank you, and good evening. The only change that I have, there's a few of them on the positions that are being recommended for changes on the 23-24 realignment process, those positions that we've identified. I'm requesting to pull number 18, number 30, and number 37 for executive session, and then to return to vote on those items at the end of this evening. And then I have a change for line number 36 in the bus route number, and that's noted on the document. And then finally, as the process, we look at the numbers and as they change, so this is definitely something that is fluid as our enrollment and numbers change. We did have one late addition on the position addition side for a special ed position, but we also have a reduction in the first section. So with a reduction on number 10 and then a creation on number 60, we wouldn't actually have a creation. We would more move the funding from that program to that one to make it budget neutral instead of the way that it's listed tonight.
Okay, Amy, can you go through those?
Yep, so the request to pull is number 18.
18.
Yep, number 30, and number 37.
Okay.
Then a change in the bus route on number 36. And then number 10 and number 6 is more of a program realignment, which would eliminate the need for an actual request for a position creation in that line item. Yep. 10 and 60. Yeah, the position realignment list. And then we do not have any changes recommended or identified in any of the other documents.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the deletions and suggestions that were made by Mrs. Loring?
Mr. Osborne, can you hear me?
Yes.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing number 18, number 30, number 37, the change of the bus route number for number 36, and the position realignment reduction number 10 and creation number 60.
Thank you, Mrs. Skinner. Is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Ogden. Is there discussion?
I have some questions. I understand that the teacher recruitment positions are funded by a grant, but some people, citizens, are wondering exactly what that is, and were those positions advertised?
Yes, there was actually a presentation on those positions by Mr. Silver with the teacher leadership framework that was worked through the state. So he did a presentation on it, and those are extracurricular positions that will participate in activities like being able to attend job fairs and help us with the internal job fairs that we're going to be hosting with the county, doing advocacy in their school buildings, generating interest in positions in the county, advertising and promoting the employee referral incentives, helping review material that we put out, providing feedback to the recruitment process, and so forth. And so they were advertised, they went through an interview process, and were selected for those positions, and now in front of you tonight for approval. So we actually have, once, if approved and everything goes through, we have our kickoff meeting where we're going to dive more into those activities.
Okay, and then I have questions about the mechanics. There must be a lot of mechanics to remove 2 of them. Why are there less buses, or because we have new buses? What's the reason?
Through the evaluation of the program and that discussion, we've been unable to fill those positions, and they've been able to continue with servicing the needs of the transportation department. So they've been unfilled for a while now.
Having participated in those discussions, I will also convey, because the board has shown a lot of foresight in leasing newer buses. As you know, if we have buses that are under a certain mileage count, we get reimbursement from the state. Once they get above a certain mileage count, we do not. And so the board, in engaging that aggressive leasing program, not only are we getting additional revenue because we have fewer buses that are above that mileage limit, but it's incredibly helpful because then that requires less mechanics time. You do a lot less repair on buses that are at 80,000 miles than you do on buses that are like 220,000 miles. So that's also brought it down. I will also point out that our maintenance department continues to be in the top 2 in our region, and actually I think at one point in the state, in terms of the lowest defect rate, meaning once they are audited, our buses are passing inspections at one of the highest rates in the state. So I want to be very clear that there's no compromise in safety on this. It's a matter of both unfilled positions and because of the board's prescience in investing in newer buses as well.
Well, that leads to the second part of my question then. So it's not that there are fewer buses. So then why remove standby bus operators? Because it's my understanding that on any given day, there is a need for a bus driver.
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. That's a great question. So we had 4 of those standby bus driver positions, and the fact that we have such a small pool of drivers, none of them are getting filled. They're going directly into full-time bus driving positions. So we left 1 there as an entry point for folks. If at some point in the future we have sufficient folks to fill our regular ranks, we can reintroduce those. But right now they're not being filled, and they are taking up FTEs on our count, where it looks like we have a lot of positions, but they're positions that aren't being filled. So those position changes were a result of meeting with transportation, them looking at their needs, and us looking at the fill rates for the last year. So thank you, that's a good question.
Okay, and then, so the transfer, there are a couple positions at the virtual school. Does that mean you don't need, or they're not being filled? Because I think everybody wants a virtual job.
So that's a great question. One of the things that we did is we sat down with the staff of the virtual program, And we conveyed that JVA needed to be revenue neutral, meaning that the staffing, the cost of the JVA program could not exceed what the per pupil amount was for the students in there. As a result of that, we made some changes in the configuration of JVA at the lower grades, and that did result in us removing some staff and transferring those positions out. That was necessary in order for their expenditures and their revenue to match so that we could continue to have JVA and not have it be a drain on the resources for other programs. So they sustain themselves at this point based on their student count and the removal of those positions.
And then my other concern is, I know I read the emails about the funding and the state formula, about eliminating positions, and I understand that at some point later you could replace them. Right now, I think Shepherdstown Elementary has 2 classes, first grade with 23 in each, but the max is 25. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So my concern is, and I understand that they'll be getting aides. I just see a lot of position removals, but for teachers and, frontline working with students, but I don't see any positions being removed at the board office to help with the funding. And I just believe that the levies are, in the past, they were to help fund education, to improve learning for students. And it seems that a large portion of the levy money is going to the board office, and the board office is increasing, while our student population has decreased by almost 1,000 students in the past 8 years, but the board office has doubled from 33 to 63. Where we used to have one person do Weavis and technology, now it's 2 separate positions. And I don't know what their jobs are, but it used to be done with fewer students. So it's just hard to see all of these cuts, especially when, kindergarten through 3rd grade, when we would like to see smaller classes. And I don't know, I guess it's just a statement, but anyway, that's all I have personally about this portion of the consent agenda, but I do have other questions,
About the
but
other piece.
that's to do with the finance.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, other questions about the consent agenda?
You said you do, or I didn't hear what you said?
Are there any other questions about the consent agenda?
Yeah, so at the last meeting, I asked about a lawyer. We were paying $20,000. Why are we still paying these attorneys? And the board was told that it was an old issue, but it came to my attention that there's 4 new Office of Civil Rights complaints that this law firm is handling, and they're on the consent agenda again for about $7,000. And so I don't understand why the board was told something that wasn't accurate, and why we have so many issues with civil rights. And I believe most of these are coming from the same school. And I don't know enough about them, but I know that 4 of them are involved, they're racial issues, so I'm concerned about that. I mean, the board hasn't heard about this, so. Did you turn this off?
So the board hasn't heard about 4 civil rights cases because there aren't 4 civil rights cases. We currently have 1 case that a parent is negotiating with us. We've been told that there is another case being filed. We have not yet received that from the Office of Civil Rights. Again, our attorney costs are driven by external forces. We are in the process of working with the Office of Civil Rights regarding the initial complaint that we received. We held a mediation session with that family. I cannot legally have any discussion with you or any public discussion regarding that process until we've completed it. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I know for a fact that there's at least 3, I don't know about the 4th one, but there's at least 3 OCR complaints.
Well, the Office of Civil Rights has notified us about one, and we've
And
had a
those
mediation
attorneys
session.
that are on here, I know for a fact that they are working on those cases. So I just want to say, like, that's something I think, that's something I know for a fact that is happening.
Well, and again, I don't have any reason to disbelieve you, Ms. Bragg, none at all. What I can tell you is that I've been involved in one civil rights case, and the civil rights person who's assigned to that case said that they had gotten one more and they were evaluating it and they would let us know. Those are all of the ones that have come to me.
I just feel like we have too many. For less than 9,000 students, I believe there are too many complaints, especially for the OCR, and the same sort of issues have been complained about. So why not get to the root of that?
That is what we're attempting to do, ma'am. And again, I can't have a public comment on a mediation process that's ongoing. But if the board would like a legal update in executive session, I'm happy to provide that.
I would like a legal update and a climate survey update, because we haven't had that either.
Well, the climate surveys are still open. When they close, those go to the state. We don't process those here. When you see those climate surveys and they compare the schools and the county and the state, that's because those portals, all of those are submitted to the state, and then they give them back to us once they're done. We don't handle any of that locally. Part of that is so that it is confidential.
So you're saying they're still open? Is that the new, because there were some that came in February?
That portal opened up, Hans isn't here. I can get you the dates. The state sets a portal and they say that we will open the surveys on this date and the surveys close on this date, and they decide that. We're the ones who just distribute the information to parents, and we created QR codes. The state doesn't do that, so people can do it on their phones. Otherwise, that's them. They decide when it opens, they decide when it closes, and then they aggregate it and just give us back the reports.
But we'll get an update on that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, ma'am, when they get it back to us. Yes, ma'am.
That's all.
Okay, is there any other discussion on the consent agenda? There is a motion and a second with the deletions that we were given. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no.
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 I believe, Mrs. Harner, did you get that? I believe that was 3-2. Motion carries. Next is unfinished business. Action on approval of Jefferson County Schools before and after care, after child care.
Good evening. So I bring to you tonight a request for approval for AlphaBest for our before and after day care provider, beginning with the 2023-24 school year and continuing through the 2026-27 school year, a period of 4 years. These services would be provided at the following schools: Blue Ridge Primary Elementary, C.W. Shipley, Drisswood Elementary, North Jefferson Elementary, Page Jackson Elementary, Ranson Elementary, Shepherdstown Elementary, South Jefferson Elementary, T.A. Lowry Elementary, and Wright Denny Intermediate. I would add that AlphaBest was the sole respondent to our RFP, which is the request for proposals. I would add, because AlphaBest has been our vendor for before and after childcare, that we are very pleased with the work that they have provided, particularly how they provided support for families during the pandemic. So tonight I'm recommending AlphaBest to you as our before and after daycare provider for a period of 4 years.
Is there a motion to approve Alphabets as our after-school, before and after-school childcare?
I make a motion.
Was that you, Dr. Joy?
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mrs. Bratton. Discussion? Personally, I know from working with Alphabets many years ago, they do a great job with their before and after care. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Banks. Our next order of business is superintendent search and update. I sure hope I'm not supposed to give this. I know that we will be contacted on May 1st and be given names at that point, that evening. At this point, I do know that there is a number of individuals who have applied, and I don't know that I can give a whole lot more information than that at this point. Is there any questions? Okay, we will move on to action and approval of an interim treasurer for the school year 2023-24 for Jefferson County Board of Education. Is there a motion to appoint the interim treasurer that's suggested?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion?
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. I know before Ms. White was appointed, just as a technicality to sign checks, is that the same thing?
Yes, ma'am, at this point, because of the timing of when we have to appoint the treasurer and where it lands with where Ms. Moss is at in the process of being certified as a school business official, we have to extend the interim while she does that.
But
so thank you.
Does this have to be for a full year? Because what if Ms. Moss becomes permanent?
Then we'll come back to you and ask you to change the appointment.
I
Yes,
see.
ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? All in favor of naming Mrs. White the interim treasurer, please say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next on our new business is approval of dual credit courses.
Hello again. Ms. Cantley is here with us tonight to help describe this a little bit and why we're seeking approval for a dual credit course. So I'll turn it over to her for a little bit of background information.
Thank you. So tonight we are seeking approval on the high school course titled Concepts in Probability and Statistics to align it with Shepherd University's Statistics Math 314 to give students an option if they are already at Shepherd and they want to take something for out-of-state possibilities. We already have this course aligned with a Blue Ridge option, but this would just open up options for our students to have a course through Shepherd. The course that we currently have aligned already through Blue Ridge, when that transfers into Shepherd, it transfers in as this class. So we did an alignment with the Professor Wang at Shepherd, and it meets 97% of the skills, which is 63 of the 65, and to qualify, it has to meet 70%, so it's well over that. As far as content standards, it covers 97% of the content standards, so it's a pretty good match. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, is that taught by a Shepherd faculty?
Yes, Dr. Wang at
And-
Shepherd. It's a course that would only be offered at Shepherd.
Is it a face-to-face class?
Mhm. Yes, they may offer a virtual option, but it's traditionally a face-to-face.
What are the requirements for a student to take that? Would they have to get a certain score?
Can we hold on one second? Can we put a motion on the floor so that we can have discussion on it?
I think motion in a second and then discussion.
Yeah, can I make a motion that we approve the recommendation for the dual credit course?
Is there a second?
I'll second it, Kathy.
Okay, discussion. Go ahead, Dr. Joy.
Yeah.
The requirements?
Yeah, so they have to get a certain score?
Yes,
on-
minimum SAT or ACT score. They could also test them with an Accuplacer or prerequisite course. So Math 314 is it's like a second level math course. So it has, just like all of the college courses have a minimum requirement to get in.
I just have one more question. Have you ever attempted to work with APUS, American Public University?
We work with them in other avenues, but not dual credit options yet, but we partner with them for like college informational sessions. Like this year we had their wonderful new rep did a webinar for our students in 11th and 12th grade. We actually opened it up to 9th through 12th, and he gave a good presentation on picking the right major and things like that, but we don't have dual credit with APUS. We have Blue Ridge, West Virginia Potomac State, and Shepherd.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just had a quick dual credit question, Ms. Cantley. When you're kind of working through those, can you check for us on the history portion? Because I know when we were looking at dual credit options, that's one thing, and when we met with the state superintendent and his assistant, that they had expressed that as well, looking to want to work with that when the students take like an AP World History freshman year, and then you get to the U.S. history, even government, but making sure you can do government now or civics. You can take
Civics.
that as the college dual credit, but the U.S. history or European history, somewhere in there we have a gap that our skills or standards don't align. So there's no option when they get to 11th grade because they have to take that class. There's no history class given at the college that you could do a dual credit for.
Right, because last July, the state required, there's two paths in social studies that West Virginia offers for high school. So one of the paths would be, world history, 9th grade. 10th grade, you would have the option to take comprehensive U.S. studies, which is the study of the United States from the beginning of time till present day. That's one option. Jefferson County voted to do 2 classes because our teachers recommended that it was too much to cover in 1 year for our students. So we do a U.S. history in 10th grade and contemporary studies in 11th. And in July, they required the full history of West Virginia, of the United States to be taught, and there's a test they have to take at the end. So for Jefferson County, it didn't leave a lot of options for you to, it's basically now prescribed unless you take AP comprehensive. So that would be the only time you would have a option to take a social studies requirement, but you could take it for an elective. But we'll look into additional social studies classes. Yes?
Okay. Yeah, because I don't think that's not well understood, I think, and but basically, usually it's AP World, and then if you're on that AP track, you're typically doing either AP US or AP Euro, and then you're going to AP US, and then you got to do your government or AP Gov, or you can do, the dual
Civics.
enrollment for that, or do AP Gov and then instead of civics, because that qualifies. But it's just, it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit convoluted to go from that. Usually, 9th grade is good, but that 10, 11 year to understand what the comprehensive means and either doing AP or the dual enrollment or being prepared for that, it's just very confusing. And I know that it's not our issue for the most part. It is a state issue, but however we can align or see if we can do something or push the State Department of Education to get that a little bit better with our, our legislative needs, that would be good. But thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? The motion on the floor is to approve the dual credit course that was presented to us. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is action on approval of advisory committee members. I believe we had 2 listed. Okay, would we like to, can we
But I
get a
thought
motion?
We approved them, excuse me, we approved them at that Monday meeting. We already did that.
Did we approve these 2 individuals?
So it's 2 more individuals now?
It's 2
Well,
additional?
who are they?
2 additional members. They were in our agenda packet. They're not in the written packet. They're on the online packet. Can you give us those names?
It's Ms. Juracek and Glenn Simpson. Dana Juracek for discipline, Glenn Simpson, human resources.
Is there a motion to approve those 2 individuals?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, we have board member comments and committee reports. Ms. Braden?
First of all, just let me say that I am proud of all of our students, and to the young lady, Sophia, who was recognized this evening for the program that she put together, and she said she was hoping that someone would keep it going. Well, I'd like to welcome you back so that you'll keep it going and keep putting in that wonderful work. So I attended an induction to the Hall of Fame for Martinsburg. Our librarian at Charlestown Middle School, who is also our football coach, was inducted, Jason Johnson. So congratulations, Coach Johnson. But not only was he inducted last Friday, they also inducted his father. So his father's deceased, but I thought that was a pretty great thing that he was inducted at the same time as his father. So congratulations, Coach. I did attend Jefferson County Parks and Recs meeting virtually. They're waiting for an answer. Just to remind you, Dr. Gibson learned that they're waiting for an answer for that they had asked if you could possibly speak with the board about donating some money towards, I believe it's their water and play park or something like that. And you told them that you would present it to us and then get back with them, so they were waiting for that.
So what they had asked was whether or not the board would donate $9,500. So they had originally looked at they wanted to do a study to determine whether or not it would be feasible to build a swimming pool. So this isn't money towards the pool, it's not money towards building, it's money for a study to decide whether or not it would even make sense to build a pool, how much it would cost, where it would go. They asked me if, they said, we have $30,000 for it, we need another $9,500. Would you be willing to take this to your board? So I went back to them and I said, well, okay, first and foremost, we provide $30,000 a year in the levy to Parks and Rec that we didn't previous to this. Can you use any of that money? They came back. They said, we have that money already set aside for other programming. So as we're going through the budget process, you guys are going to get your budget presentation in whatever that first meeting is in May. And that can certainly be one of the questions on them. I will convey that I have some concerns about the board donating money to a feasibility study that may or may not end up. So this has nothing to do with the water park or with, this has to do with they want to do a study to determine whether or not Parks and Rec should pursue getting a swimming pool out there.
Yeah, I read an article in the Spirit, I believe, that Senator Rucker had secured money for a study, but it's been way over a year ago, and I would think that they would go back if they needed more money to Senator Rucker or one of the delegates that represents that district first. I would think that, because it's coming from the, you know, the senator. She secured the initial funding.
Yes, ma'am, and I can't speak to what their decision-making process was. Because we didn't have any money set aside for that, and because we have already given the money to Parks and Rec that was outlined in the levy, that's part of our budget process. Do we then go back in the budget? I will say we'll certainly bring that as an option for the board. I don't know that I can recommend it. There seems to have been a lot of swimming pool studies done, the city
Right.
and.
Right, I just kept my word.
Oh,
and did
absolutely,
what I
ma'am.
was asked,
Yes,
so.
ma'am, you are entirely correct. Thank you for that. But just so that you know, that was supposed to be part of the budget process to ask for that, so. Thank you, though.
And that's all I had, thank you.
Dr. Joy, do you have any comments?
Change of procedure, huh? Okay, well.
I want to keep you awake.
Huh?
I want to keep you awake down there, okay?
Let's see, so I wanted to congratulate Shepherdstown Elementary. They had a successful storybook parade. The students marched and, you know, with their costumes. Shepherdstown Elementary fourth grader Thomas Broderick got first place in the West Virginia State Math Field Day. Congratulate Lorelei Bangent from Jefferson High School. She broke the record for the 400-meter dash. Tomorrow at the Ranson Civic Center from 6 to 8 is the transition fair, and this is an opportunity for families to learn about IEPs and everything related to special needs students. I wanted to congratulate Dana Jurashek. She is a finalist for the National Presidential Award for Excellence. She's a science teacher at Jefferson High School. Congratulations to Liam Decker for his positive office referral from South Jefferson Elementary School. Wanted to congratulate Will Shively, who was named Player of the Year, and he just committed to Hood College. Wanted to recognize that April is Personal Finance Month. Normally, every year, I write an article in all the papers about personal finance and begging legislators to let our students learn something practical. Well, finally, this year, our legislators passed the bill, and now our students are required to take at least a half credit in personal finance, and I still have a lot of these books, so I don't have class sets, but if anybody would like a book for their graduating high schooler or, you know, just in their class, let me know and I'll give you a book. Finally, I want to let everybody know that May 5th is Cinco de Mayo, and it's also the 20th anniversary of the Kiwanis Club fundraiser. It's going to be held at Wildwood Middle School. At 6:30, there's a live auction. At 6:30 is the silent auction, 7 o'clock is the live auction, and all the money goes to the K-Kids at T.A. Lowry, the Builders Club at Wildwood Middle, Key Club at Jefferson High, and they're starting a Key Club, Kids Club at Shepherdstown Elementary, hopefully this upcoming year. So they do a lot of great things for our students. So the whole community's invited, and hopefully you all will attend. And wanted to thank Carmen Bratton, a board member, for donating to the auction. That's about it.
Thank you. Mrs. Ogden?
First, I'd just like to say this, just echo Sophie Stewart, who is here tonight, I think has been just a really great example. So many great students we see all the time, but she's just gone above and beyond and actually has won a full ride scholarship to Fairmont University as well. And I think to be recognized for that. We have so many students that are just excelling like crazy with Lorelei Bajan setting a record. Hannah Phillips, I think, set a record. Jade Brown was part of a relay team as well. I mean, obviously the boys, we've got them going everywhere. And it's exciting to watch them excel in so many things. And, you know, especially when there's not a whole ton of funding behind athletics in the state of West Virginia, nor arts. But I'm thankful for what we do and always wish we could do more. So thankful for that. I love that she started that field days for all students. I do hope that we can continue that. I think that's a great project, even if National Honor Society took it on and with the help of all those volunteer hours from ROTC as well. Just different options. And then last but not least, I would just remind everybody with Miss Lewick, trying to get through that. She just exemplified in my mind just what a teacher should be. She loved those students. And, you know, people used to say all the time that she had thousands and thousands and thousands of children. And she did, because they all loved her in that way. And she's an irreplaceable soul. Never, ever forgot a student's name. She would post all the activities that they would do on the board. And I was in school today and walked by the board, and I couldn't help but think about, you know, who's going to do that. It's little things like that that you don't think about when you lose somebody, and how much she gave to the school with her life. Seen her at the football games, and she was always wearing gold and maroon or cheetah print. Somehow bringing that all together. But on the 29th at Jefferson High School from 10 to 1, they're going to receive friends and family in the community. And I would just invite everybody who has the opportunity, whose life was touched by her, to come and express that to the family. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Skinner?
Rumsey did not meet this month, and the Jefferson County Development Authority, the president of that has resigned, so now we're going to be appointing a new president of that, as well as searching for the executive director.
Dr. Gibson Learn and I got to attend the candlelight service for Sarah Lewick, and it was heartfelt, the comments about the positivity that she brought to Jefferson High, and not only from just students and staff, but from community people. And the number of people there that evening was astounding, and it was a awesome, thing for her. Superintendent's comments.
I would just like to give a brief shout out and thank you. I was at the Delta Sigma Theta fundraiser this weekend. And through the generosity of that sorority, they handed out a number of scholarships to Jefferson County students. I think a total of 4 of our students received scholarships from them. And at the same time, they also chose to honor as their Educator of the Year, our very own Miss Tanya Dallas Lewison, for her contributions in the community. It was a wonderful event, very well attended, and they continue to be just extraordinary supporters of Jefferson County schools, of students, of learning, and good partners. So I wanted to give them a shout out. Thank you.
Okay, now is the time the board moves to executive session to conduct transfer hearings. Is there a motion to go into executive session to conduct transfer hearings requested by
Make a motion.
the employees?
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, Janet? Did I miss something? I do anticipate action coming out of that meeting. Is there a motion to go
I
into
make a
executive?
motion that we go into executive session.
Is there a second to that motion?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no.
Aye.
We are going into executive session for transfer hearings, and we will come out of that.
And to address the other personnel issues on the ones we pulled.
I'm sorry, what was that?
And the ones that we pulled, the personnel pieces that we pulled.
And the ones we pulled, Tracy, or Amy as well? I know of 3.
We're just in executive session, we're doing the 3.
The 3?
Yep, yep.